I told myself I wasn't going to do a week 13 version of how the Detroit Lions could get the first seed. But then somebody asked me during the weekly show how the Detroit Lions could get the first seed. So I said, okay, you know what? Well, I was going to wait and create some space in between so to be a little more interesting. But I decided because I was requested that I would make a video. I like doing series like this, and it's real different from anything I've ever experienced because before it's how the Detroit Lions can make the playoffs. Now I'm 100% sure we win the division and 100% sure that we make the playoffs. So this is uncharted territory for me, but I think that I still enjoy doing this, and this is for the people that like it as well. Now, maybe after this week, we'll do a how the Detroit Lions could secure the division and go from there. Those probably are the videos that should come first, but those are a little bit harder to do because there's much more that can happen, tiebreakers, and all this other stuff. So I think these are a little more cut and dry. So without further ado, let's go. And I'll tell you where I came up with and what I've seen and how I see this thing going. And then we'll alter it so that we can get a better look and see how we can squeeze in there. Now, again, I have the Philadelphia Eagles not losing more than 2. Any hope that we had keeps getting thrown out the window. I mean, the Cowboys, they lose to, or they beat the Cowboys, they beat the Dolphins, they beat the Bills, they beat the Chiefs. I mean, if you go through that, you're probably not going to lose another game, but then you have the any given Sunday. So coming up, and this week is super important for a number of reasons. The Philadelphia Eagles in week 13, they play the San Francisco 49ers, and this is a big game for both teams. If the San Francisco 49ers can win, they will also close the gap on the Philadelphia Eagles with a chance to kind of equal that gap if the Dallas Cowboys could win in week 13. So it's going to be a big game for both teams. In order to get the first seed, we need San Francisco to win. If we are secure with the second seed, which doesn't look too shabby right about now, then we would want a Philadelphia Eagles win. So a win-win situation for the Detroit Lions, but this video is how the Detroit Lions could make the first seed. So this is how I have this going. I have the Lions, I'm being generous. I have them going 5-1 through the home stretch. I do have them losing to Dallas, but realistically, I have us going 4-2. I think we might drop one in between there. So, but for the sake of this video, let's say we go 5-1. So I have the Philadelphia Eagles losing in week 13, which is the one coming up. I have them beating Dallas in week, I think I have them beating Dallas. Where am I at? It is right here. I have Dallas beating them. So that I would have them losing 2 straight games, and that will be their final loss of the season because they have the Seahawks, they have the Giants, and then they have somebody in between the Giants before they end week 18. So for us to get the first seed, let's see, we would need some help from one of these teams to win. Let's say the Seahawks upset the Eagles. Then that puts the San Francisco 49ers there, okay? So how can we get the San Francisco 49ers out? Who do they play in 14? They play the Seahawks. Let's say the Seahawks upset the 49ers next week. Then that should that puts the Philadelphia Eagles back in. So that's with us winning going 5-1 down the stretch. Okay, so let's skip to week 15. Let's say that the Seahawks win in week 15. We saw that one. And then the 49ers, if they get upset, when is a realistic upset that could happen to the 49ers? The Ravens here. I picked the 49ers, but if the Ravens were to win this game, which very well could happen, then that puts us in the second seed. So we're going to need an upset. We need the Philadelphia Eagles to win to drop. So as you can see, 13-4 does not get us the first seed. So it looks like we're going to have to go a bare minimum of 5-1 down the stretch if the games go like I predicted. So let's go and let's focus on the Eagles. Who do the Eagles play in week 18? The New York Giants. Then they play in week 17 the Cardinals. Lord have mercy. And then the Giants. So let's say that the Giants at home can pull off an upset in week 18. If the Giants at home could pull off an upset, then that will put the Detroit Lions in the first seed. So you'll see that right now we need a lot of help. We need the Eagles to at least the Eagles would drop down. The Eagles have to go at least 12-5. As you can see, 13-4 is not going to get us there more than likely. It might be a scenario that it can, but 13-4 is the most logical scenario. We would need the Philadelphia Eagles to go. They have, what are they, 10-1? They're 10-1 right now. They have 6 games left. We would need them to go 2-4 down the stretch. And realistically, if that were to happen, they have to lose the next 2 games. We have to go 5-1. That's 100%. It can happen, but we have to go 5-1, assuming the Eagles are going to do what they're going to do, right? So they have to lose at least, they have to go 2-4. And I mean, this team, here's the deal. This team has been on the verge of losing for many a games. I mean, and the team that beat them was the New York Jets. The refs have helped them out tremendously. So I think that the NFL narrative is really, really trying to push the refs. I'm sorry. The refs are trying to push the Eagles to the Super Bowl. I think they want them to get there again, which puts them, the Lions, in the NFC title game. But you already know how I feel about that. So you add the refs and you just add, they just keep scraping by. And you think eventually they're going to drop one. And I'll tell you what. The good news about this whole thing is that, I guess it's good news, is, well, to me, it's good news, but it's the way you look at it. It looks like it's a 4-game race to the number 1 seed. And yes, the Detroit Lions are in that race. Let me go back real quick. I'll try to keep this video under 10 minutes. But if we go back, there is a 4-team race for the number 1 seed. Dallas plays Seattle tonight. I think they're going to get that victory. Then if they beat the Philadelphia Eagles, let's go back to week 14. Dallas beats the Philadelphia Eagles. Now let's go to week 15. And I have Buffalo winning that game, but let's say Dallas pulls it off on the road. Dallas has a real good chance for the number 1 seed, but they also need some help. So Dallas would need the San Francisco 49ers to win next week, and then they would have to, or this week, week 13, and then they would have to beat them on that rematch in week 14. So it's really up in the air, and that's why I was kind of leery about doing one this early, because it was cool a couple weeks ago, but then the Philadelphia Eagles kept winning, and we lost. That loss on Thanksgiving really hurt us. Had we won that game and we were 9-2, they would be 2-1. I'm sorry, 10-1, and it would be a lot closer. It would be a lot more leeway that we would have in order to chase that number 1 seed. But there is some time. But I said this last week on Twitter that I think the Lions' number 1 seed hopes went out the window with the Eagles win over Buffalo. But it is a hope. But they've got to lose. They've got to lose these next 2 games. You have the potential. Look, let me show you something. Let's go back and let's look at the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are in danger of losing and making and missing out on the playoffs tremendously, or altogether. So let's go to week 18. Seattle Seahawks should beat the Cardinals, but that's a division matchup, so you never know. So then you have week 17 here. Seattle is going to have to beat Pittsburgh. So they play each other in week 15, right? So Seattle is going to need to win. So they're going to be playing, because if the Eagles win that game, then Seattle is out of the playoffs. So there is a possibility that, like Seattle was rooting for us to win last year against the Green Bay Packers to put them in the playoffs, there is a possibility that Seattle is playing for their playoff lives and giving everything they have to make the playoffs. So I'm not saying that the number 1 seed is lost yet, but the Eagles have to start losing, and any hope of that happening needs to happen the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be a fun time, because if the Eagles do drop to the San Francisco 49ers, that's going to make the Eagles 10-2. That'll put the 49ers at 9-3. Okay? And the Detroit Lions would also be 9-3. And then you have that huge matchup between us and the Bears, the 49ers, whoever they play, and then that matchup between the Dallas Cowboys, who are going to be playing for that number 1 seed against the Eagles. So in 2 more weeks, we'll really know the real potential, because I just don't see the last 3 weeks of the season, the Cardinals and the Giants twice. I don't see the Giants helping us out, but that is a division game and they're always tough. We know that because we had 2 back-to-back. We won one, lost one. So it can happen. It's not over yet. And as long as it's a possibility, this is how I enjoy myself. I'm going to talk about it until it's not. So then we'll probably start doing division videos maybe after this week, because I think I have a general idea of what needs to happen for the Detroit Lions to get the division. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.